Why not?
Videos and interactions like the one I'm about to show you guys are one of the largest reasons why I will always stand 10 toes down on the importance of defending marginalized communities and the importance of not being an asshole. There are so many people in this country who have a hard time dealing with their own internalized problems that they go out and attack other people who are just trying to live and exist just because they don't fit in some type of persona or mode that they think is normal. I'm going to get into a lot of things in this video. I'm going to talk about homophobia in the Black community. And even at the expense of you guys judging me, and some of you even being pissed at me for the things I used to say, the way that I used to live, I'm going to talk about homophobia that I engaged in myself when I was in college. Things that I said and did, things that I have since addressed with friends of mine who I went to college with, who engaged in this with me. We get together and we talk a lot. We call each other one-on-one. We get together in groups on Zoom and we talk. But since being in college, since kind of going through my own awakening, I guess I would say, I've addressed these things with other friends of mine because I thought it was important for us to kind of reconcile with that. But it's also a part of the reason I want to try to offer some advice to people as to how they can get out of this hateful ass funk of thinking they're entitled to tell other people how they should live or to have some type of feeling about someone because of the way that they're living their life. But first, watch this video of this damn Karen who is just being an asshole and needs the advice that I'm going to give, but also needed to be told off the way she was by the manager of this Burger King.
What is your name? What is your name, sir?
My name is Lily.
Okay, and you're stating that you called me sir, correct?
Actually, you called me young man, and I politely corrected you multiple times.
You don't get to correct me. I will address you as what I see. I have no obligation whatever
I have no
to enter.
obligation to you.
Yes, you do, sir. Unless, of course, Burger
Not,
King.
sir.
Unless Burger King has a policy to behave this way to their clients. Maybe they do. We will find that out. Hello.
Can I help you?
Yes, ma'am. Kathy Brown.
Kathy.
And you are the manager?
I'm actually one of the owners, but we have no video
Great.
recording, so I'll be more than happy to help you, but you can't record us.
Oh, I'm a First Amendment lawyer, and I can definitely record you. Absolutely. I want to file a formal complaint. Okay. I have been a patron of, I've been a patron of Burger King for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And I came here, I always received nothing but excellent service. But I came here today, I had a coupon, and I ordered what I ordered. And one of the things was accidentally left out, not a problem. Okay. I came back around to get it. Mm-hmm. And I thanked the young man who waited on me, and I said to him, "Thank you, young man." When I did so, when I came back the second time, he became very angry, and he said, "I'm not a young man." Okay? I said, "Sir, I call you what I see." He said, "Well, in that case, thank you, sir," and shut the window. Now, I am clearly a woman, and I have no obligation, as you know, ma'am, to call him whatever he thinks he's supposed to be called. And I cannot imagine that Burger King has a policy that when their customers have this sort of an interaction and they're supposed to be responded to angrily and on purpose called sir and yelled at because he did. Well, I did that to you because you called me the wrong sex. Is that Burger King's policy to treat
I will have a conversation with Miss Lily, who was the young lady that was in the drive-thru.
She is not a young lady. You're free to think. You're free to think she is, and I'm free not to.
And I will address her because we do not condone being rude to our guests. So you're right. So that was inappropriate. Her retaliation because she was upset was inappropriate, and I will address that. Okay.
Thank you. I'm glad to know that your policy is not to insult your clients.
Yeah, our policy is not to insult, but we just hope our guests don't insult our team members either.
I beg your pardon, madam. Do you find that I insulted this individual?
No, I do not. But I'm going to ask you to leave because we do this as private property.
Yeah.
I do have the right to ask you to leave.
That's cool. One more thing, ma'am. Who is your director? To whom do you report?
I'm the owner. I'm Kimberly Byer with Kansas King Inc.
Kimberly Byer. Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Again, I'm going to get into a lot of things in this video, but first, let's address the video. I personally believe that this lady behind the camera who claims to be a First Amendment lawyer, who isn't, obviously is not, I believe she went through that drive-thru on purpose, knowing who who Lily already was. Because it's not stated in this video, but I'm assuming Lily must be transgender. But if I were going through a drive-through, I would call Lily a she. That's what I saw. That's what was presenting to me. The fact that she called Lily a he tells me she knows something about Lily that she's not saying in the video and we weren't being told. I think she went through that drive-through just to antagonize Lily. So she calls Lily a she over a he over and over again when Lily is like, I'm not a he, I'm a she. And then she says, I'm going to call you what I see. What we see when we see Lily is a she. But that is why sometimes you have to ask so that you don't misgender someone. So this lady, this Karen behind the camera, is an asshole. That, like, all things aside, she's an asshole. And then she wants to get mad when Lily says, well, thank you, sir. Maybe Lily is calling her what she saw. Now, she's so mad, she goes through she calls for a manager like Karens do. And the lady who comes up, Kimberly's like, well, I'm the owner. And she's like, yeah, we don't like our employees to be rude to people, but we also don't like when people are rude to our employees. If this lady was really a First Amendment lawyer, she would know that you can't go inside a private property and record people. And although I'm happy there's a recording of this video, I wish Kimberly would have stuck to her guns and kicked her ass out of there because she did not have to allow her to be in there recording at all. Could have called the cops and had her ass kicked out of there as well. But she had the nerve to be mad about Lily calling her a he when she had done that to Lily over and over and over again. And I want to give my applause to Lily and Kimberly for giving it to her ass. But again, this is what I'm talking about when I say advocating to not be an asshole. Like, I don't understand why anyone would give a damn if someone is transgender and goes by, identifies as something that they don't feel like they should be identifying in, or that's not what they see. Like, why do you care? And I feel like a lot of this has to do with some of the things that are being preached to these people, either by their church pastors or by some of these far-right Republicans. Don't be an asshole. I do not talk to a former colleague of mine, and he still is a colleague of mine. He's another coach at another institution that I used to talk to all the time. But he made some statement one time to me about how a student in his class wanted to be referred to as she, and he didn't think the student was a she. He thought the student was transgender, and he doesn't feel like he should have to, capitulate to what they, and this started saying that. I was like, dude, really? I didn't realize you were a bigot. I didn't realize you were a bigot. And because of that, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want to associate with someone who says dumb shit like that. Like, you can't just address your student the way they want to be addressed and move on. And most of the time, it's so funny because I've had several transgender students in my class. And there are times when, I might call someone what they present themselves as. But then we got an email saying, hey, maybe just ask people. Maybe just ask people to address, be addressed or whatever. But before that, I would have my transgender students, they would always come up to me and or if I went up to them and asked, hey, what would you like to be addressed as? They would say, hey, I'm a she, but if you make a mistake a couple of times, no big deal. I get it. Like just the best people about things. And that brings me to the homophobia in the Black community. Like, a lot of Black people will say that there's a lot of homophobia in the Black community. And I think that homophobia is what was able to get Donald Trump some of the votes that he got in 2024. I truly believe because we need to address the homophobia in the Black community, which I think are very based on history and slavery and all those things, right? The male, you better be a strong, tough male because you better be out there picking that cotton, taking care of business, and so forth, right? And just the homophobia in the community, in America during that time being passed down to Black people, where we have And the fact that black people were told, don't talk about things. We a lot of black people are against talking to professionals about their problems. So homophobia in the black community is a thing. And a lot of black people like myself and a lot of my friends, we try to address these things and talk about how we can, kind of like get this gone, And that is why I think myself and some of my friends in college engaged in that type of homophobia, said things that we shouldn't say. Probably, if I'm being honest, if 30 years ago when I was in college, I probably would have said things that were mean about transgender people. What I often tell people is that it is okay to admit that you're a work in progress. I think we're all works in progress. But you don't need to be a hateful asshole. Anytime someone says anything, especially one of my guy friends who wants to be, I'm a big, strong, tough guy, whatever, right? Says anything about drag queens, drag queens grooming people or all this stuff. I always say to them, I've been around you. I know if your son were checking out a cheerleader at a sporting event, you wouldn't say these cheerleaders are grooming my kids. I know if you and me and your son walked by a Hooters and your son was peeking in at the women in there, you wouldn't be saying they're grooming your kids. Just admit you have a problem with the gay, the queer, the transgender community. Admit that to yourself and then realize that is your problem. That is not their problem. You have a problem that you need to work on. And there was a point in like my junior or senior year in college where I realized I have a problem that I need to work on. There's something about gay people that have been passed down to me, a belief in like, that's not right or whatever, that I needed to say, dude, Demetrius, that's you. That is your problem that you need to fix. And I think a lot of people need to realize that. And when I have addressed that with my friends, any friend who's ever said those type of things, they'll say, man, you know what? You're right. You're right. It's me having this feeling about drag queens, and I got to get over that. And there's been times where they didn't. We don't talk anymore, though. I don't talk to people anymore who are homophobic or anything like that. If you're running around saying, transgender this or gay people that or, drag queens this. I don't, if you can't have an honest conversation about the fact that that is a you problem and not their problem, we don't talk. I just don't. I can't communicate with bigots and idiots. And I apologize for the fact that there was a point in my life where I was that person. Now, I was a little bit younger, still not an excuse. Still not an excuse. And one thing that I have acknowledged is that even today, I am still a work in progress. I've talked a lot about my daughter and, and how smart she is and how much I really value her take on things. And so I was with her yesterday, drove out to see her, and we're talking, and she was saying how, basically how she's a work in progress. She's like, there's sometimes, where I start thinking things about someone, who maybe at work, who said something or whatever, and I have to rein myself in. I have to tell myself, we don't do that. We don't do that. Like if I need to address the issue with that person, I'm going to address that issue. But I don't start to think things about their appearance, their intelligence. That's just wrong. That's being an asshole. And sometimes I have to remind myself, I can't be that. And I feel like people, they think everything is black and white. It's not. We're all works in progress. Like if you can come to that conclusion, you can forgive yourself for some of your stupidity and then remind yourself how important it is to never make those mistakes again. And then to be a very explicit defender of marginalized people. It's so important. And so I watched that video and I just think, why be an asshole? That entire thing could be completely just avoided if the lady behind the camera wasn't an asshole. And again, I 100% believe she already knew things about Lily. I 100% believe that, because there's no way you look at Lily and you think, sir, and if you did, you'd have to go, I'm not sure, so maybe I should ask. But I think she knew this. I think her entire point was to go and be an asshole to Lily. And I just think it's just, those people, you almost can't help them. I think when I say people are works in progress, I think it's a lack of sometimes understanding, a lack of knowledge, compassion, empathy, things like that. I think this lady, it's not a lack of, it is the presence of just bigotry and hate and being an asshole that she wanted to be. And that is why she showed up and did that. And I really commend Kimberly, pretty sure was her name, the owner, for saying, we don't like people like you here. Lily's just doing her job, trying to do her job, bagging your stuff, doing the best she can, just trying to work. And you're being an asshole to her. So if you guys take anything from this video, what I want you to take from this video is that it is okay to be wrong. It is okay to realize you're a work in progress, because what that allows you to do is it allows you to grow. It allows you to say, I've been an asshole before. I've said some wrong things. I've done some wrong things. But I'm no longer that person I was 30 years ago. And to reconcile with that, I try to be the best person I can be, and I try to give the best advice that I can give. And I try to make sure that, like, I don't allow that type of stuff with my student athletes now. Any chance I get to educate them on the importance of not being an asshole, on the importance of having empathy, having compassion, and things like that, I do that every single time. You're a work in progress. That's okay. Just try to remind yourself anytime you have those thoughts or want to act on stupidity or lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, just go, wait a second. I might be being an asshole right now. I'm a work in progress, so I'm going to fix that, and I'm going to try to never do that again. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be right all the time. But if you realize you're being an asshole, if you realize some bigotry or some like subtle stuff coming out, be okay with taking a step back and saying, I got to fix that. I got to fix that. Listen, if you guys haven't yet, be sure to check and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate that when you guys do. I appreciate the likes. I appreciate the shares. Some of the comments yesterday, you know, I had some time to sit around and read comments, and I was reading through comments. I was responding to comments, and I just really appreciate the community that we have created here and how I can myself be vulnerable and be transparent with you guys. And again, like I said, at the expense of some of you guys maybe having a different thought of me, I wanted to be honest about the person that I was 30 years ago in college. I wanted to be honest about the person that I was when I was in high school. And I wanted to be better. I'm not saying I was running around bullying people or anything like that. That was never me. But some of the things friends and I would say to each other, things like that, unacceptable. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate, you know, I could tell you this. If I didn't feel comfortable with the 169,000 of you guys that follow this channel, there's no way I would ever be able to be this transparent with you. So thank you for allowing me to be transparent like that. And as always, I really do appreciate you guys. Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in their heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the